What's up everybody? 40 the Broadway Saiyan here and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and I'm bringing you guys another cooking video. Now as you guys know, last week was Father's Day, so I was busy celebrating with my son and with my wife, so I wasn't able to put a video out, but for this one I am going to be doing one for you guys, and for this meal is going to be a highly requested one, which is going to be none other than the Filipino dish adobo. Now for those of you that have never had traditional Filipino adobo, generally you have your protein, which is either pork or chicken. Those are the two most common proteins that are used for Filipino adobo, and then afterwards you have the base. Well, so for the base you're gonna want your soy sauce. So for this one I'm gonna be using a less sodium soy sauce because, as you guys know, I'm trying to keep these meals a little bit more on the healthier side, because generally you would want to use like a thicker Filipino styled soy sauce for this, but I'm gonna be using a less sodium one. And then you're also going to be using your vinegar because there's going to be a nice sharpness to adobo, and it has that really unique, kind of like a sour, sharp taste that just makes it so iconic. So we're going to be using some vinegar, and then afterwards we're going to be using our sweetener. Now generally they use either brown sugar, or Sprite, but for me, because again I want to keep this a little bit on the healthier side, I'm going to be using some raw unfiltered honey. I've done this with honey before and it tastes absolutely amazing, and what I like about the honey is because it's naturally sticky. When you actually simmer the dish and the sauce starts to reduce, it has like a really nice thicker texture, which I personally like that with my adobo. Then afterwards your base is also going to have some onion. So I have some white onion chopped up here, and then I'm also going to be using a lot of garlic. So you're going to want a lot of garlic with this dish because it really perfumes the dish and it gives it, kind of like a nice subtle sweetness too. And then something that adobo also has is peppercorns, or black peppercorns. So this is something that you would just throw on there, and what it does is as it heats up, it starts to release that, a little bit of a subtle heat into the dish, which is really, really nice. Now for my protein, I'm gonna go with chicken. I prefer it with chicken because a little bit leaner, a little bit healthier. For the chicken, I'm gonna be going with chicken drumsticks, and right over here I got some chicken drumsticks. Now I went with a bone-in type of a chicken because what happens is that when the meat starts to simmer, the bones kind of soften up a little bit, and they also release their flavors into that nice base, which gives it a nice flavor. And what I actually did for this, and this is kind of uncommon when it comes to this dish, but I floured my chicken, and the reason why I floured my chicken is because I want the flour to help thicken the base or the sauce. So then that way, like I said earlier, it helps give it that nice texture, that nice thickness to the sauce. You don't want it all watery and things like that. And then afterwards we're going to go over to my vegetables. So what I'm going to be using here is I'm going to be using some sweet potato. This is not the traditional way for the starch. Usually you go with potatoes, but again I'm trying to keep it a little bit on the healthier side, so I'm going to be adding some sweet potato rather than just regular potatoes. I am also going to be using a favorite vegetable of mine, which is okra. Adobo usually doesn't have this, but I like to put a little bit more into mine, so I'm going to be using some okra. I'm also going to be adding in some sliced grape tomatoes, which some adobo has this and some doesn't, but I like it in mine. And then something that you'll usually not see in adobo, but I personally like it, is going to be some chicken hearts, or you can also go with chicken liver. Now the reason why I like putting in a little bit of organs is because it gives it that nice irony taste, which I personally like, and if you guys have never had it before, it's actually pretty delicious, adding in either chicken hearts or liver. And then, once the dish finishes simmering up, at the very end, we add these bay leaves. Just gives it a little bit more flavor, and and it's all about flavor when it comes to chicken adobo, or whatever kind of adobo style that you're going to be trying out. But anyways, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started with this dish. We're going to go over to the stove, so stay tuned. Alrighty guys, so here we are. We're gonna go ahead and get started on this chicken adobo. The first thing that I'm gonna be doing is actually dumping in the onions, because we're gonna start off by creating our base. So we got some nice hot olive oil here. Just gonna go ahead and dump it right over there. Again, always be careful when you're working with oil. Okay, I got some there. I'm also gonna dump, I got a little bit more right here. Okay. Onion gives it a nice sweet flavor too, believe it or not. That's why I love using onions for a lot of my dishes. Alright, so we're gonna let these onions sweat. And as we're letting them sweat, we're gonna go ahead and add a little bit more to this, which is gonna be our garlic. So what I did with these is I cut them in half, and then I kind of give them a nice mash, because it helps it to release the flavor a little bit easier when it's cooking. I'm gonna dump that in there. Just a nice stir around, kind of mix everything in. And then last but not least, we let this sit we're gonna add in our peppercorns. So again, this is traditionally used because it gives a dish a little bit of heat. And I also really like this dish with peppercorns too. So can't go wrong with this. We're gonna add that in there. All right, and I can already smell that lovely mix of flavors. You know, just the subtle sweetness of the onion, you know, especially, and also the garlic, and then the combination with the peppercorns. Really, really nice scent that I'm already getting off of this. So this is going to be the start of our base, and then when we come back, we're going to be adding in our chicken because the goal is to sear the chicken before we actually add in everything else. So stay tuned, guys. Alrighty guys, so it's been about a few minutes. We allowed the onions and the garlic and the peppercorns to kind of cook a little bit in the oil. We still have it on high heat. The next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to take our chicken and start searing it. Now we're not going to let them cook, we're just going to let them sear. And what I'm going to do is, as I put each piece of chicken in, I'm just going to kind of move it around, you know, with the oil and the onions and the garlic. And it's kind of interesting because I got this chicken from like the same place, but like look at how huge these drumsticks are compared to some of the other ones in here. They're kind of huge, so this is going to be kind of interesting to cook these with different kind of sizes of chicken. But you know, the most important thing is that you got your protein and you got the right ingredients, and this dish is going to be very, very wonderful. All right, so we're tossing in our chicken here, giving it a nice sear, letting it sear with the oil and the onions. Okay. That there. And again, if you notice that my chicken is a bit floured up, this is usually not what they do with chicken adobo, but I do it because I like the base, the sauce, to be a little bit thicker, and the flour helps give it that nice thickness. So add that in there. We can probably fit like one more in here because we don't want to overly clutter my pan. Then I'll figure out what to do with the rest of this chicken. All right, so we got our chicken sitting in here. Now, generally what you want to be doing when you're searing is you want to be turning them over, you know, periodically until you get like a nice, kind of like a yellowish brownish color on the skin, especially since I'm using chicken drumsticks. So we're going to be doing that, and then afterwards we're going to be coming back and we're going to be putting the rest of this dish together. So stay tuned, guys. Alrighty guys, so we allowed our chicken to sear a little bit. If you can see right over here, it's fairly seared. We got a little bit of browning on the skin. We allowed it to, you know, simmer a little bit with the onions and the garlic and the peppercorn. So now what I'm going to be doing next is adding in the rest of my ingredients. So I'm going to start off by adding in the chicken hearts. Again, chicken hearts are not traditionally in this dish, but I like it because it gives the dish like a nice irony kind of a flavor. And chicken hearts themselves, for any kind of, you know, organ meat, at least for me personally, is delicious. So this one is optional if you guys are not a big fan of organ meat, but I love organ meat, so I'm adding it in here to give it a nice flavor. All right, so after I add that in there, we're gonna go ahead and add in the starch, which is gonna be my sweet potatoes. Just sprinkle that in there. Probably use just a little bit of this. There we go. Should just use all of it, whatever, you know. When you cook, you learn. All right, I'll get that stuff in there within the crevices of my little pan here. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and add the okra. Again, this is something that's generally not added in adobo, but I like adding it in. Okra has a really nice flavor. Okay. One of my favorite vegetables, also very healthy. And for those of you that are trying out this recipe, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about some of the ingredients I'm using, or if you happen to cook it, let me know what you think of the flavor and everything. And finally, we're adding in my tomatoes. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is kind of just pack everything in there, because the last part that we're gonna be doing is adding in the liquid part of this dish, which is gonna be our soy sauce, vinegar, and our honey. So kind of just get everything packed in there. Okay. Make sure it's getting all that heat in. Perfect, perfect. Okay, so now, here comes the fun part. Starting off with our soy sauce. Because remember, adobo kind of has like that snappiness, that sour snappiness, that salty sour snappiness. So be generous with the adobo, okay? Because what you want to do is kind of cover this. You want it to cover, okay? Almost kind of like you're cooking soy sauce chicken, if you guys have ever had soy sauce chicken. I'm gonna add in our vinegar now. Okay. Healthy amount of vinegar. And then lastly, we're gonna drizzle in the honey. So this is gonna be the sweet part. Again, traditionally they like to use sugar, brown sugar, Sprite. Me, I'm gonna go with honey, a little bit healthier, and I like the flavor better. And it helps kind of thicken, you know, the adobo sauce as it simmers. Because what I'm gonna do next, and I'm being very generous with this honey because I really like it with a lot of honey. So what I'm gonna do next is kind of push everything down again. Kind of let the sauces kind of simmer around. Okay. Everything in here. All right, now that everything is in there, we're gonna let this sit for about 45 minutes, guys. What I'm gonna do is turn down the heat to about 5 because we're gonna let this reduce, okay? We're gonna let this reduce. We're gonna let the adobo sauce kind of just cook everything. So it's gonna get into a little bit of a nice boil. So you wanna keep an eye on this for about 45 minutes. And as it starts to boil even more heavily, you're gonna start turning the heat down even more. And within about 45 minutes, this dish will be ready and we're gonna be plating it in my meal prep box along with some rice because adobo is delicious with rice. And that'll be it, so stay tuned for that. All right guys, the adobo is finally finished. Let's go ahead and take a look at right over here. So it is still boiling and simmering, but as you can see, it looks beautiful. You know, the flavors have combined. You got all the vegetables in there. The chicken looks delicious. So what we're gonna go ahead and do now is plate it into our meal prep box. So as you guys know, I've been meal prepping because portion control is important, especially when you're trying to lose weight. So I did cook some rice while you guys were not looking. We're not looking at the video. I cooked some basmati rice because adobo is delicious with rice. Now, you don't have to eat it with rice, but trust me, it makes a whole lot of a difference. I'm putting a little bit of rice in there. And then let's go ahead and add in our adobo. I'm gonna go ahead and put this here because it's hot. I don't wanna burn myself. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna get a piece of the chicken. I'm gonna get the big piece here. As you can see, that chicken drumstick is huge. We're just gonna lay it there. Then afterwards, what I'll do here is I'll add a little bit of the sauce and the vegetables and the chicken hearts. There we go. So this is gonna turn out to be a lovely, delicious meal for meal prep. And again, if you guys are interested in trying out this recipe, I'll be leaving the ingredients in the video description as well as the pinned comments. Let me know what you guys think after you've given this recipe a try. Again, it kind of goes off, you know, from the traditional style, but some of the traditional components are still in here, but I'm trying to make it a little bit healthier, you know, but let me know what you guys think, and also if there's any other recipes you guys want me to try or learn, so then that way I can feature them on these type of videos. Thank you again for watching. Florida the Broadway Saiyan signing out. Mahal, guys.